Hello, welcome to the Comics Panel. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about fun comic facts. Okay.
Well, before we get into the fun facts, should we ask our viewers something?
Absolutely. We'd like to say thank you so much for the people that have subscribed to our YouTube channel and liked us on Facebook. And there's been more coming over, and we just want to say thanks so much, and we really appreciate it. And if you like us on Facebook, please subscribe to
our YouTube channel.
We need you.
Yeah, and so
you don't want to miss any of our videos.
You can't miss our videos. You can't. You're not going to miss them. You might miss them on Facebook because you got a total line of things, and you might miss that.
There's so much to do, but
you know, send a chain mail.
But we greatly appreciate it, and we just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you before we start. Okay, you said fun comic facts. Are there any other fun facts? I don't think so. I don't think so. So you came up with this brilliant idea, and you had all these things.
Actually, it was the producer that came up with it.
I know, but we don't want to.
But
give
you were
him
more
more
on
credit.
top of it than all of us.
We don't want to give him more credit.
I had to cram my brain here.
Yeah, we don't want to give him more credit. He's got too much credit already. So you got some stuff, I see.
I just, in honor of Guardians, I decided I would give you an interesting fact about Groot. Nice. I am Groot.
Groot.
Now, in the crossover, Groot originally appeared in 1960. He was in the Tales to Astonish number 13. And he had a few brief appearances, but it wasn't until 2006 during the Annihilation Conquest crossover where Groot comes back to the Groot that you know in the movies.
Yes.
But
Today's Groot.
Yeah. But before that, he was just basically like a monster, like just a tree monster that came down. He wanted to capture humans to study them and, you know, find out more about them. And he could talk. And he was actually destroyed by termites by a Leslie Evans, who I tried to look up and find out about her.
Is she like a liberal
I don't know anything about her.
Maybe. Maybe not.
She sounds like
I don't
that
think so,
monkey.
because she destroyed them.
She destroyed Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was a bad tree.
That's true.
He was a bad tree.
That was one of those cool Jack Kirby, Stan Lee monster things that they were doing.
They said they gave the credit to Stan Lee, Kirby, and Larry Lieber and Dick Ayers. And those guys were all involved in the creating. So he wasn't even involved in Guardians in the beginning there. He was just with monsters and
original Guardians. He
fought the Hawk one time, and
Yeah.
Hawk smashed him.
Well, the original Guardians was a lineup
Just
that
like
nobody. I mean, it was like
Yondu is the only guy that's featured
Didn't
in the movies.
did that Ice Crystal guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yondu's the only guy in the movie from the
that's
original.
from the Guardians of the Galaxy.
They should give him a better fin.
Well, I think it is getting bigger in this one.
That's
I don't
cool.
know. You saw it. I didn't get to see it.
Alert! He gets the fin like he should have had all the time.
Yeah.
But it's a mechanical thing. It's not his original
all
skin tone. And he's not an archer with a little whistle thing.
Yeah.
He has real bow and arrows.
See, that's another little fun fact.
But that's what he needs.
That's okay.
I hate that fact with the whistle. It's baloney. And they ruined Yondu. And I mean, we're getting off the subject, and I'm sorry. So continue.
No, that was just
That
it.
was
That
your
was
Groot
it. Yeah,
fact?
that was my Groot fact. So, and you came up with an interesting Yondu fact.
But I don't want to use that one.
But
Well,
go
you
to
We'll
your
have to rewind this because I have a better fact.
We'll go to your better fact.
I'll go
then.
I think Nightcrawler. Everybody knows him from the X-Men. He was originally created for the Legion of Superheroes, and I believe it was Jim Shooter, and I forget now. But when he created him, he was going to be like, you know how Legion has so many heroes and everything. They were going to create him, put him in as a lovable character, and then after everybody got into him, they were going to kill him. They made him to die, and of course DC said, nope, we don't want him, and he introduced him into the X-Men, and they loved him. But another interesting fact,
Interesting, did not
and
know
this
that.
came from the Wizard, the comic. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He has 2 private parts. I just thought that was interesting.
Wow.
So
Is that
that came from. I didn't make that up. I would
Okay.
never make that up. But then when they originally created him, that's what they did. They gave him 2 private parts. So
Wow.
of the same
Interesting.
sex.
Yeah.
You know, he's not an earthworm. So. Because if you didn't know that fun
Yeah,
fact,
yeah,
earthworms
yeah,
have.
okay,
Okay,
yeah,
so we go
gotcha.
to biological
Yeah.
sciences here. So that's my fun fact with that man. So how about you?
cool? I don't know. I was kind of pressed here a little bit. I was going to talk about the question a little bit because I was looking around what kind of stuff. And I thought about the question simply because the question was created by Steve Ditko, one of the
The
greatest.
Great?
Yeah, the Great. And it was for Carlton Comics. And then when DC bought out Carlton, they got a lot of the Ditko guys. And the question was one of them. And also like Captain Atom, things like that. So I thought that was kind of cool. If you didn't know that, Steve Ditko, it was done for another comic company.
I did not realize that.
That was bought out by. Ditko was working for Carlton after he had left Marvel, because he got tired of Marvel, and Carlton let him do however you want to call it, let him do whatever he wanted. So that's why he liked working there, even though he got paid less.
I say, so he didn't like working for Marvel because he didn't like a steady paycheck.
No, he still got a
Creative freedom.
He's still got a steady paycheck. He didn't get paid as much, but he got to
at
do what
Marvel?
he wanted. No, at
Well, that's
Charlton.
what I'm saying. That's why he left Marvel, because he didn't like a steady paycheck. Marvel
As
was gonna
high of
come-
a steady
Yeah,
paycheck.
There it is.
In fact, he might have been it might have been a little bit more steady at Carlton, just not as much.
Probably not
At
just
that
much.
time, because they might have been a little bit better.
That was interesting. I did not know that, about the question. I knew he was a Charlton character, but I didn't realize
we
it
were
was Steve
talking
Ditko.
earlier, and this is something I just found out, and this might be something that our viewers might know something a little bit more about. You had mentioned that Rorschach,
Who's Rorschach?
Rorschach from Watchmen,
The Watchmen.
was first appearance was actually in DC's The Question, and I was like, what? And we looked it up, and it's a strange little combination, because I was like, no, Rorschach first appeared in Watchmen, Watchmen #1. This we talked about, is this a first appearance, is this a cameo? It's kind of up to you how it goes in The Question. Nick Sage, who is The Question, was reading Watchmen, and in the panel he's reading the Watchmen part of his adventure, and he says, what would Rorschach do? Rorschach is not featured in that episode of the Question or anything like that.
And they're virtually almost the same character, wouldn't you say? Because they both wear that mysterious
Well, yeah,
mask.
Alan
right?
Moore based Rorschach on The Question.
Yeah, but the thing was, even in CGC, they don't say cameo; they say first appearance.
Yeah, so it's kind of whatever. It's like we said, is it the first appearance of Wolverine in 181 or 180? Technically, it's 180 because he appears in the last panel. But they consider 181 to be his first full appearance.
I always say first appearance.
It's kind of this, in my mind, it's kind of the same thing. Because Rorschach's kind of in The Question, but it's not really about Rorschach
Not
or
about him at all.
anything at all.
No.
So.
Well, how about the fun fact? Do you know why the Question's face is pale like that? Or like if you want to say nothing, you can't see anything? I thought this was interesting because I love The Question. I've read a lot of the issues through the years. He doesn't know who his parents are. So like when you look in the mirror, you can see your mom or your dad or whatever. He doesn't know who his parents are. So when he looks in the mirror, he sees nothing. And that's what inspired him to make the face like that. I just figured I'd throw that fun fact out there. I just
Interesting.
More
loved it.
fun facts about The Question.
The other fun fact I had was Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman.
Oh, yes.
And when she originally came out in Marvel Spotlight, I guess they didn't really have a name. The character was supposed to be a little bit different, but it wasn't until like the crossover Marvel 2-in-1 where Mark Wolfman decided, I'm going to give Spider-Woman a name, and he came up with the name Jessica Drew. And Jessica is the name of his daughter, and one of his favorite female detectives, Nancy Drew, became the last name. So hence
Jessica Drew. Cool.
Jessica Drew, and of course she dies at the end of issue 50. And the fans were a little bit upset about it, and the writers and everything decide we're going to fix the mistake, and she comes back in an Avengers crossover, and Jessica is born again, and that was Avengers, I think 240 and 241. Yep.
I thought you were going to say like her last name was inspired because they like to draw the past tenses. They drew.
I drew this.
I drew this.
I drew this.
That's interesting.
But the Nancy Drew thing is actually a little bit cooler.
That is cool.
That is
I
pretty
thought I
neat,
just made
yeah.
that up. So we're doing another fun fact?
I don't know, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's see. I had to. Oh, how about this? Kitty Pryde. Guys, remember her?
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite X-Men.
She is cool. When she phases, how long can she maintain phase?
Is it through she can hold her breath?
As long as she can hold her breath. She holds her breath, that's it. Because a lot of people believe, oh, it was indefinite. And I remember reading, they said, no.
No, that's the Vision. Vision doesn't have to breathe.
Yeah, he doesn't have to breathe. He's got so many powers. He's like Superman.
And he's an android.
Yeah. Really,
His breath is only to talk and as a cooling mechanism.
But the thing was, a lot of people think she's indefinite. She could do.
I think people may think that because of that one where she was trapped on that missile, that bullet, that giant bullet missile they shot to head towards Earth, and Magneto stopped it. And
oh yeah,
it was one of the X-Men issues, and she's like just stays on it or something. Yeah. I didn't read it. I lost interest in it at that time period, but I remember they brought her. There was a big to-do to bring her back, and I remember I got the issue where they brought her back because I liked that character.
She's a great character. Shoot.
Oh, I don't have one. Go.
Okay, then let's talk about.
The direct editions. That's an interesting thing.
Okay, we talked about this a little bit earlier. If you've collected comic books, therefore,
mid 80s, 90s.
Yeah. Mid 80s into the 90s, there was, if you had a
this one has a barcode,
but if you had a comic book that had, especially Marvel was very known for this. It had some comics had a barcode, and some had a little picture of just Spider-Man down here.
Sorry.
And someone had asked what the difference was and why some had a barcode and some did not. The basic reason is the ones that have a little picture of Spider-Man were direct shipment. They would ship directly to comics shops, which was fairly a new thing at that time.
Yes,
Up until that, you could only get comic books through a distributor, which was usually a magazine or newspaper distributor. And each one of those had a barcode. We used to call them bipads when I worked for Harrisburg News. It was a bipad, and you had to basically match up the numbers. It was not that big of a deal for comic books, but for magazines, sometimes they would change the title of the magazine, but when you were doing orders and stuff, you had to know the numbers. Anyway, when direct shipment showed up, there was no bipad to put there because no comic shop had scanning guns or anything. It was somebody's basement,
right?
Kind of turned over, and I have this great collection, and now I can get stuff directly from, the distributor. So they didn't need a barcode. So everything that was direct ship just didn't have one, so they had to fill something in. Sometimes it was just a white spot. They didn't put anything in it, but then Marvel started putting Spider-Man's face in there. So that's why. I mean, you could have two issues. One has a barcode, one does not. Well, one was picked up at the 7-Eleven or Turkey Hill or whatever, and the other one actually came from a direct market comic shop.
Well, DC did it. I don't want to say who did it first, but DC had the advertisement for
look at this.
For Who Watches the Watchmen. So you would go into the comic book store, you would see that became an advertisement. I want to know who watches the Watchmen.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I looked at the Watchmen, because I remember seeing that. So it was a great advertisement in the little area. But the thing is funny is that when the direct shipment came in the late 80s, early 90s, direct had a better price. It had a little bit higher quality because you knew it didn't come through a store that people were touching it. And it did have a higher value, especially with Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man #1. Yeah. The one that has a barcode didn't have as much value as the one that didn't.
Well, when we would get comics would come in with magazines in these totes, and they were more or less tied together and thrown in. And when I worked there, I was like, oh, look at what you're doing to these comics, And I was buying my comics from a comic shop. So that was a little bit different, but that's why they were kind of beat up.
Right.
And, when you get direct shipped, it's going right to a comic owner, and he knows and he cares.
Yeah.
And he's not going to, in fact, he's going to send it back. Oh, it's got a ding here or the bend. This is going back for credit. He wants one that's perfect because he knows his customers want one that's perfect.
They demand it.
And we have an actual really great example here. This is G.I. Joe, Real American Hero.
Perfect.
With a great John Byrne cover. And if you can see this one here, this is number 51. They're pretty much identical, except for, the prices are the same, but it's hard to see. And one has a barcode, and the other one has a little thing that says, give the gift of literacy. So you can see what the difference is, but they're exactly the same books. So that's why some have
they're exactly
a
the
barcode
same.
And some don't.
There you go.
little
That's your little
differences here and
fun
there.
fact for the
I
day.
guess so.
And now it doesn't really matter because it does the price.
Yeah, they all have. Yeah.
You know, the price isn't indicated anymore saying, oh my gosh, you have a barcode. That's worthless compared to. So that little
Yeah.
theory has gone out there. Now, if people want to collect it for it, that's your
Yeah,
entitlement.
that's-
But if you want to pay more, that's your stupidity in my eyes. Why
Well,
pay
if
more?
you like it more, hey, and you want to pay a little bit more,
But it doesn't mean it's a better comic. Doesn't mean anything. That's
if
all
it means
it
if
means.
it's better to you,
Yep. Hey, you
And
can only
that's all
charge
that
with a
matters.
markable bear.
as long as you're happy with what you got.
Right. And if you got ripped off, then that's your problem. Okay.
But if you're happy,
so,
it's
yeah,
your
that's
fault.
all matters.
Anyway.
If you're happy.
So there's a couple fun facts.
Yeah, we gave a lot of good information, and if you have any, leave it for us. Let us know. We could talk about it. But do we nail this one?
Yep.
I think
Oh.
so.
Well, if you get tired of the same old story, please turn some comic book pages. Leave any comments in the box below.
And like us on Facebook
And subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Subscribe.
so you don't miss anything.
That's right.
Exactly.
Exactly. Video.
Thanks.